Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, Patriots. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Chaida. I'm a Black conservative commentator and writer, and this is my podcast where I discuss relevant issues surrounding people, society, culture, and politics. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you like talking about issues, politically, culturally, socially through a faith based perspective, then this is the podcast for you. So make sure you hit that button and leave American flag in the comment section to let me know that you are a patriot. All right, let's get into this. Today, I am going to share a scripture from the Proverbs. And in Proverbs 3, verse 5 to 6, it says right here, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. He will make your paths straight. I want to talk about this recent trend that's going on in today's modern times of I've noticed a string of celebrity kids who have professed or have publicly come out and dropping their father's last name. And before I get into it, I want to talk about which celebrity kids I've noticed. It could be more, but I noticed three. You'll notice Katie Holmes and the daughter she shares with Tom Cruise. Her daughter is recently is in college, and before going to college, she dropped her father's last name, Cruise, and now goes by Surrey Noel. And then you have Michelle Obama and her oldest daughter, who she shares with Barack Obama, obviously, who she shares with Barack Obama. Her daughter name is Malia Ann Obama, but she wants to now go by just Malia Ann because she's in the film industry and doesn't want people to associate her with her parents' legacy or image. And then, last but not least, you have Angelina Jolie and the kids who she shares with Brad Pitt. One of her daughters just graduated from college, I believe Spelman University. It's a historically and female based, historically black college and female based. And her daughter Zohira, I believe I'm please tell me if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly. Zohira Marley Jolie. She dropped the last name Pitt. I believe all the kids in the Jolie Pratt household dropped their Pitt last name, are now just going by Jolie. And I wondered, and I thought to myself, if this is a anti-father trend that we see happening in Hollywood and in bigger media circles, because because historically it's been very, at least for traditions, it's not like this everywhere in the world, but here in just Western society, kids normally born to a mom and a dad are known to take their father's last name. And now what we see in pop culture and in different spaces, we see kids historically dropping their father's last name and only going by their middle name or their mother's name. And I wonder what this says about the men, but more importantly, I want to touch on what this says about the broader culture are we becoming? Because in today's modern times, we become so anti men that sometimes it feels like we're becoming anti fathers. Like, are we losing the importance of what having a good father means? Now, I can't speak for any of the men. I don't know any of the men that I mentioned, like Tom Cruise, Barack Obama, Brad Pitt. I don't know any of these men personally, and there've been stories out there for years of how what kind of fathers they were to their prospective daughters, and I know for a fact that there have been struggles, there have been strife in a few of these families, that for the kids to now drop their father's last name, it seems like it's pointing to a much bigger issue. Biblically, the way that God designed it, when man leaves his family to be joined in union with his wife, that is called marriage. They will become fruitful and then create offspring, and their children will now carry on their father's legacy. Traditionally, a father's last name symbolizes something: identity, inheritance, protection, image, and honor. And I also noticed that in everyday life, there are certain women out there, modern women, who would get married but refuse to take on their husband's last name. Now, traditionally, there's nothing in the Bible that says that you must take on your husband's last name. There's not like a biblical argument to make there. However, what I notice is that women who want to not take their husband last name and keep their maiden name and be known by their maiden name, even though they're married to their husband, will say, well, I worked very hard for my name. I worked very hard to make sure that people recognize me for who I am. I don't want to build something like get my degree, build a business, go out and run for office and be known for me, and not be attached to my husband and not be attached to the man I choose to spend my life with. And at the same time, I understand, but even though it is your name, you're still carrying on the legacy of some men. Your father's legacy, your grandfather's legacy. That is this idea that women feel like erased by taking on their husband last name has always so bewildered me, because it's like it's not about erasing you, it's about carrying a legacy, carrying now becoming a part of a new family, carrying the inheritance, carrying the identity, carrying the image. You are carrying a person's legacy. And I think what I see going on with these daughters in Hollywood and so on and so forth, and women in everyday life, is that they really tried their best to erase the man, the patriarch of the family, not the matriarch, the patriarch of the family, and try to replace it with their mom or the matriarch or themselves, and want to be independent of the man. And I don't think, like, unfortunately for these three women, Shuri, Malia, and Zariah, they're always going to be known as their father's daughters. Like, the public already knows who their fathers are. But for everyday women, for the average woman in everyday life, you are a part of your father. Like, you are still carrying on some man's legacy, whether you like it or not. Whether you choose to take on your husband's last name or not, it's completely up to you. However, you are still carrying on some man's legacy with, even if you're just holding your last name, because this tradition goes back centuries. So one thing I would like to share on top of this is my personal life. As you guys know, my name is Chaida. But if you go through the deep dive of social media or looking at different things, or you may have seen how my last name, my full last name is Chaida Bango Bango. Yes, Bango Bango. It goes twice. Um, Bango Bango is my mother's maiden name. My father's last name is Boito. And I'm not going to share too much about my father. I grew up, I didn't have a present father in the home. Actually, I grew up, I spent half of my childhood in the foster care system. And I share more about that in a past episode. However, because when I was born, my mother did not put my father's last name in the last name column of for me, she put Bango Bango instead because it was very clear that she was going to be the primary caretaker of me, and that my father's last name is still one of my middle names, but I go by Bango Bango. And recently with my family believes that I should be known as Shaida Boito because my father's last name is Boito. And to be honest, I feel very indifferent about it. I don't really care to go by Burrito. I do love the last name Bango Bango because it is my grandfather's last name, and I know that he was quite quite the pioneer in the family. So I'm very blessed to be carrying on to be honoring a legacy by still carrying the name Bango Bango. If one day I do get married and I do have a husband, I will be happy to take on his last name. I will be happy to take on my husband's family legacy and still carry on that image and honoring that family. However, even though there's no biblical principle for it, I do believe that women should carry on their husband's last name if they marry to him, because it's more than just, it's not about raising your image as a woman, as an independent woman. It's about carrying inheritance, cultivating an image for your family, and building on a legacy. You could still carry on, you could still do great things even with your husband's last name. That's just me. Let me know how you guys feel about this trend that we've been seeing. I feel like it's part of this like anti-man trend that we see going on, but I would like to hear like your thoughts on it. So, if anything in this episode really resonate with you, please leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel. If you're on Facebook, follow. Like this episode and leave a comment, join in on this conversation. All right. Remember, guys, this is for the woman who won't be silent. This is Her America. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Love you. Thank you for tuning in to This is Her America. We're here to have the conversations others are afraid to touch. If today's episode challenged you, encouraged you, or gave you a new perspective, do not keep it to yourself. Share it, subscribe, and join the conversation. Follow the podcast on YouTube and all major platforms, and stay connected because this isn't just commentary. This is conviction. Until next time, stay rooted in truth. Be bold in faith and unafraid to stand. This is her time. This is Her America. From yours truly.